nominees for cinematography. Our nominees are Carol, Hateful Eight, Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, Cesario.
Okay.
Is that how you say it?
Sicario.
Sicario, Cesario. Sometimes, it's hard to pronounce these things. You understand. I'm going to say this is actually a very... Most people are going with The Revenant. I'm going to go with The Revenant. And don't worry, Paul. I'm going to take risks like you have so far. Later on, I'm going to take a risk, but not with The Revenant.
Not yet.
Now the thing is, the cinematographer who did The Revenant also worked on Birdman last year and won the Oscar. Many people are saying that Roger Deakins should be winning for The Hateful Eight. He's never won. He's been nominated multiple times. He was supposed to win for True Grit in 2010, and he lost to Inception. So voters really are about visuals here. Mad Max Fury Road is another one to watch out for. This is a visually stunning film. It's a technical achievement. It might sweep across the board. Carol was beautifully filmed too, but again, subtle. And I know that people are like, I'm tired of Jason saying subtle, but it's not me, it's the voters. Voters are like loud and in their face. They have to be told, what is cinematography. I think that The Hateful Eight has some beautiful outdoor shots, but a lot of it takes place indoors. Sorry to say. A lot of it takes place in enclosed. So I think it's going to be The Revenant. That's my choice. What is yours, Paul?
So I'm going to go with The Revenant because it was willing to give us time to soak that in, and the movie knew that it was going to pay off. And I walked out of the theater and still felt like, where were we, in Wyoming? North Dakota. Anyway.
We were in the wilderness. So final predictions for cinematography are both from Paul and I are going to be The Revenant. The Revenant. We move on to production design. Paul, you can read those up.
Bridge of Spies, The Danish Girl, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, and The Revenant.
Okay. What do you think?
So I'm gonna go with Mad Max because for how much I'm definitely in that cult of people on the internet who want Mad Max to be respected as a sort of cross between blockbuster and art film, and I feel like the whimsy and dark post-apocalyptic steampunky direction with the production design in Mad Max was so wonderfully satisfying, and it was like they had the budget of something so mainstream, but then just took all of this inspiration from graphic novel and from video games and from the old Mad Max, and it all just came together.
I told you how good Paul is at this. Wasn't that beautifully said? You probably have people like applauding you.
Gosh, jeez, that Oscar for best Oscar prediction video.
Yeah, I think we're going to be number one. Sorry, everyone else.
We are predicting.
Mr. O'Neill. And believe me, this is water in these cups. Thank you. I'm going to go with Mad Max 2. I don't know how the hell The Revenant got in. for production design. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but I was thinking, wait, so they're nominating trees and grass and snow. But then someone said, no, you have to look behind it with the fort and the tents.
Right, the tents, the campsites.
But I missed that because there were bow and arrows flying at me and lots of blood. But apparently, that is production design. And yes, atmosphere was true. So don't be surprised if The Revenant wins just because they're going to want to name check a movie that got a lot of nominations. Mad Max, all the way for production design from Paul and me. Alright, this is a difficult category here. This is costume design, okay? We've got Carol, Cinderella, Danish Girl, Mad Max, Revenant. Okay. I'm going to go first, and this is hard because I really am not confident with this prediction at all. Okay, but I'm going to go with Carol. I'm going to go with Sandy Powell's Carol costumes. It's a period piece, they're lush, they are a little subtle, but they're beautiful. Sandy Powell also did Cinderella, which is really obvious costume design, but I don't really think Cinderella was well received. And I don't think that it's its sole nomination. Many people are going with Mad Max, but I think that's an unconventional choice. And then The Revenant, again, very subtle costumes, but I'm not going to go. I'm going to go with Carol, which is a risky prediction because most people are doing Mad Max. What are we saying, Paul?
I'm going with Mad Max.
You're going, and you know what? You will probably be right. I'm probably going to look like an idiot because Carol did not do as well as we thought. I am going to say you're smart to pick Mad Max, but I think I'm going to have to go with Carol. So final predictions, costume design. I'm going with Carol. Paul is going to go with Mad Max Fury Road. All right. The nominees for sound mixing are Bridge of Spies, Mad Max, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. What do we think, Paul?
Well, my rationale for for sound mixing at least was, so you're mixing all. Can we get a quick distinction?
Okay,
between sound mixing and
I
sound
think I
mixing?
can distinct this,
Okay.
and if I don't, then forgive me. Okay, so to make this a little easier, sound editing used to be called sound effects editing. Sound effects editing. So really it's paying more attention to the effects. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula won Best Sound Effects Editing in 1992 for the sounds that were created with the wolf and the little things that Coppola did with that.
Okay.
Whereas sound is the overall how your movie is sounding in theaters. Just how it all blends together. That's why lots of musicals win, like Dreamgirls and The Miz recently. One sound, Gravity, one sound, your overall sound. Some voters don't know this though.
Oh, okay.
And I think that they need to change sound editing back to sound effects editing. I'm going to pick The Revenant for sound. Now this is a very split decision because a lot of people are going with Mad Max, okay? So don't be surprised if that happens. But I'm going with The Revenant because the BAFTA Awards were recent. The BAFTA Awards picked The Revenant for Best Sound. In the last 8 years, they have been correct. So I'm not going to bet against the Brits for this. And the Audio Awards recently came out, and they went with The Revenant too for sound mixing, not sound editing.
Right, and that sounds good. I hate to pick Mad Max for everything, but
you're going to do it.
But you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
And you probably are right. I mean, it's between.
It's not a bad choice.
The technical awards are really going to come down between The Revenant and Mad Max, and this is why I was saying I felt bad for The Martian, because The Martian originally was going to factor into these technical awards. Final predictions for sound mixing. Paul's going to go with Mad Max, and I'm going to go with The Revenant. This is sound mixing. Sound editing, read them off, Paul.
Mad Max, The Martian, The Revenant, Sicario, and Star Wars. And I think if we are going with your finely delivered distinction between editing and mixing, whereas editing being about the effects and mixing the overall composition of the sound, I want to say Star Wars because who brings you the wonderful, the lightsaber noise invented by a telephone falling behind a TV, and we have the lightsaber noise.
That's actually
the amount of effort that they put into all of that. Not to mention, I feel like they deserve something just for the invention of the BB-5.
I'm gonna stick with Mad Max Fury Road for sound editing, but very interesting. Okay, we're gonna start with Best Song. Our nominees are Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey, Monterey from Racing Extinction, Simple Song Number 3 from Youth, Till It Happens to You from The Hunting Ground, and Writings on the Wall from Spectra. Paul, what do you think?
So, the catchiest to me is Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey.
I agree. I really like that.
As far as the Oscars are concerned, Till It Happens to You is the pick.
Okay.
I think that, it's powerful. It's really powerful. The video is really powerful, and
yes,
it has an important message about sexual assault. And Lady Gaga, is the talented singer.
Yes.
And you were saying that the writer has been up before.
Diane Warren. She's
Diane
never
Warren.
won.
Okay.
She's everything from Because You Love Me, from the Celine Dion song, which was great way back 20 years ago. So she's never won.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a lot on the table there. I actually really was going to pick Till It Happens to You from The Hunting Ground, but I'm going to go out on a limb and stick with Writings on the Wall from Spectra, and that is Sam Smith. Now, I love the song, but I'm also going to go based on James Bond movies. They just seem popular with music artists. This goes back to the 60s and also recently with Adele winning for Skyfall just a few years ago. So I'm gonna say Spectra. It won the Golden Globe. It's not as effective in terms of when you watch The Hunting Ground and you see this, you have more intense feelings. But I don't know. I just think that it's a catchier song. I don't know. I heard Till It Happens to You, and it wasn't as impactful. The video was impactful, and it would be nice to see Lady Gaga win an Oscar along with Diane Warren, and that's definitely my second pick. So this is a really tough category in terms of those two. I don't think any of the other three have a chance. My personal choice actually would be Earned It from 50 Shades of Grey, but the Oscar voters don't go for movies like 50 Shades. Not always. So yeah, but I do really, I am on the fence between Till It Happens to You and Writings on the Wall. Those are the two I'm on the fence on.
Okay, so it's close.
Yes.
It's going to be close.
Yes.
So then, Best Makeup?
Yes, let's go over those.
We have, so there's 3 nominees. The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared, Mad Max Fury Road, and The Revenant.
Okay, this is another tough one.
That's so tough.
Honestly, I haven't seen The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared, but that title is certainly catchy.
I know. I like long word titles.
I liked it. It's like,
that's audacity.
Was it The Englishman Who Went Up the Hill and came down a mountain? Hugh Grant.
Okay.
Title like that.
The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford.
Which you enjoyed very
right,
much.
of
Yes,
course.
yes.
My
Okay, so back 2 weeks ago,
if
you had asked me Best Makeup, I would have said The Revenant.
Right.
Because it's shocking to say this, but voters like picking men with beards looking grungy. I mean, look at Braveheart. They won for blue paint on their faces. And it won Best Makeup, and everyone loved it. And like Braveheart, it's an epic, it's in the wilderness, and you've got a strong leading man. So why not pick The Revenant? Because Mad Max has those scary masks.
Because the chrome spray paint.
Yes.
The chrome food coloring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Charlize Theron has this wow, this chick looked like she's going out, in New York City for a masquerade party or Eyes Wide Shut, whatever. I don't know. I just feel that the makeup in Mad Max has a little more creativity. What do you think? Are you going with Mad Max? Are you going Revenant or 100-Year-Old?
I don't know. I was also going Revenant, but I am I don't know. I just think that the blood and everything, and that's all amazing. The scar tissue, I feel like
the
on
scar
Leo
tissue was good.
is what really would give them
and
that award.
I want to say Saving Private Ryan was nominated for makeup in '98 for those bloody scenes in the first 20 minutes, and that lost to Elizabeth with Cate Blanchett.
Oh, okay.
So blood is definitely something they pay attention to, but they don't necessarily vote for.
Right, it gets the nominee, but maybe not the award.
Yes.
And I really want Mad Max to win, and I really think they did an amazing job with it.
Yes.
Same with the costumes. It's
which
so memorable.
Yes, very memorable. Our next category is tough. Again, this is a technical category. Visual effects. Our nominees are Ex Machina, Mad Max, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars. Okay, I have gone through this category a few times, and I'm going to actually pick Star Wars, Force Awakens. Two reasons for this. One, it's been sweeping all the precursors like the BAFTAs and the Visual Effects Society, and always pay attention to what other groups are picking, because there's no way to read the Oscar voters' mind, but there is a way to somewhat keep up with statistics. It's also the biggest moneymaker. You can't ignore a movie that's made this much money and been critically praised to walk out with zero. Let's look at the history of Star Wars. The first original Star Wars movies all won Oscars for visual effects. The voters do appreciate the time that goes into this. I would think that the closest competitor definitely would be Mad Max. Again, The Revenant, you got the bear in there and the horse and, bow and arrows. But I don't think that counts. I think Ex Machina might be a threat. With the robot thing. And then The Martian, again, sadly, is getting overshadowed by these other movies. I think if any other year...
It was solid.
Yes, it was. It was solid.
You can't have Star Wars without visual effects. You might be able to have a Martian without visual effects. But Star Wars, you pay extra to see it with more effects in the theater. You pay more for a better sound system and a bigger screen.
Oh, yeah.
It's got my pick.
All right, so Paul and me, you're going. So visual effects, we are picking Star Wars. We're going over the cliff with that one because it's between that and that.
I feel like it's gonna be Star Wars.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's gonna win something. Let's move on to film editing. Our nominees there are The Big Short, Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, Spotlight, and Star Wars. All right, I am going to pick The Big Short. I think this category is very, 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 very difficult in terms of cuts and fancy editing, but I do think that voters do appreciate modern day editing, which they have shown us in the past with things like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and The Social Network winning. And again, similar to The Social Network, The Big Short's lots of cuts and fast talking and quick dialogue. And I think that if The Big Short is going to win Best Picture, it needs to win at least something else besides just the writing award. So I am going to go somewhat out on a limb because I have a feeling Paul is going with a different movie.
For editing?
Or maybe not. I don't know.
My thinking is like yours for editing. I feel like the Big Short, I don't know, that was what kept it so, like, it being, as people are saying, a didactic movie, what gives it its pace is the clever editing. Yes. I feel like that's a big part of what keeps us engaged is that we are balancing all of these different stories in a very skillful way. And not to mention the breaking of the fourth wall moments to add in that really kind of memorable Anthony Bourdain scene and the one in the bathtub and so anywho, I'm gonna go with The Big Short.
Cool. I was thinking you were gonna lean towards the Mad Max just because it's been getting the name checking, but I'm glad let's do Big Short.
I love The Big Short,
and I think that Mad Max is going to cancel out with Star Wars and Revenant for these big epics. I think Spotlight is actually very well edited, but it's clean and it's very hard to kind of see where the editing is. It's just very smooth.
Right.
So
we like obvious editing.
Oh yeah. Final predictions for film editing for both Paul and myself will be The Big Short. All right. Do you want to do the honors for score?
Dun, 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 dun. Best score. Bridge of Spies, Thomas Newman. For Carol, Carter Burwell. The Hateful Eight, Ennio Morricone. Sicario, Johan Johansson. And Star Wars The Force Awakens, John Williams.
Very good with the pronunciations for Johan Johansson. He did The Theory of Everything last year.
Okay.
So new to the game, but it's doing well. What do we think? What are you going to go for?
Well, Ennio Morricone already has a Lifetime Achievement Award, doesn't he?
Well, he's never won an Oscar competitively. I don't know if...
Oh, is that a fact?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
But we can edit and see. Hold on just a quick second. Can you give me look up your phone really quick and look up Ennio Morricone. He has. Why aren't people realizing this?
What?
You're right.
He's already got the...
That he already has an honorary Oscar.
Yeah.
Very good. Why would he win? Well...
And we're back.
We are. Okay. I'm going to pick Thomas Newman, who has never won for Bridge of Spies.
For Bridge of Spies.
And this is a big, risky pick because most people are going for The Hateful Eight, but Morricone has won an honorary Oscar already. So...
Why not give it to somebody new?
So I think that Thomas Newman, also Bridge of Spies, is the only Best Picture nominee of this list. John Williams has 5 Oscars and lots of nominations. John Williams last won his Oscar for Schindler's List in 1993, same year he did Jurassic Park. So he's won for Jaws and Indiana Jones and all the genres and Star Wars. So I don't think they're going to give John Williams a 6th. Sicario, Johan Johansson, actually it's a really good score. But I don't know if voters are going to realize this. Carol sounded like the Hours from Philip Glass, who you just got to talk to.
Right. He's great.
So
he's doing well.
If I was able to talk to Philip Glass, I would have said, "What do you think of Carter Burwell's score for Carol?" Now I like Carter Burwell finally getting some attention. I loved his score for Fargo. It's a great score. So I'm going to go on a limb and say Thomas Newman wins for The Bridge of Spies.
Okay. And in light of being nominated so many times and receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, but still not having a competitive Oscar, I'm going to go with Ennio Morricone.
Okay.
Because I used to listen to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in the shower, and it takes me back. But also, I mean, I feel like he really does deserve it, especially after being in the game this long.
There you go.
We're splitting.
And I
Finally.
honestly, the only other reason I would say no to The Hateful Eight is because I don't know if voters have warmed up to it as much.
Right.
I don't know. But it is a popular score. I'm almost scared to keep my prediction for Bridge of Spies, but I wanted to jump off the cliff at least once, as Paul is personally, I think, doing for Brooklyn.
I'm going to play it safe.
But you're going to play it safe. That's
This
okay.
time.
That's okay. So those are our final predictions for score. All right.